Hello students, today we will discuss about tissues. As you all know that the fundamental unit of all living organisms is the cell. Every organism follows the following given hierarchy. The cells, they are composed into tissues. The tissues, they make up the organs. The organs constitute the organ systems, and many organ systems together form the organism. The tissues are the biological organizational level between cells and a complete organ, consisting of a group of similar cells and their extracellular matrix. The cells within a tissue work together to perform specific functions. Do you know, students? The study of tissues is known as histology. Why? What is the need for having tissues? Tissues are very important because they bring about division of labor. In multicellular organisms, different functions are carried out by different groups of cells, making it essential to have a well-organized structure. Tissues are groups of similar cells that work together to perform a specific function efficiently. This organization level brings about division of labor, where each type of tissue carries out a particular role, such as protection, support, movement, transport, etc. By dividing tasks among different tissues, the organism saves energy, increases efficiency, and ensures proper growth, repair, and survival. Thus, the formation of tissues is a key adaptation in complex organisms that enables them to function smoothly and effectively. The tissues are divided into plant tissues and animal tissues. First, we come to plant tissues. Plant tissues are again classified into two main types: the meristematic tissues, which have actively dividing cells, and the permanent tissue, which have mature non-dividing cells. Coming to the classification of plant tissues, as we have already said, we have meristematic tissue and the permanent tissue. The meristematic tissue is again divided into apical meristem, lateral meristem, and intercalary meristem. The permanent tissues are divided into simple and complex tissues. The simple tissues are again of three types: parenchyma, collenchyma, and sclerenchyma. Complex tissues are of two types, the xylem and the phloem. Let's see the details about them. The meristematic tissue. Meristematic tissues are also called the growth engine. They have actively dividing undifferentiated cells, and they are present at all the growing tips. They are actually responsible for the plant growth in specific regions. They produce new cells that mature into permanent tissues. The different types of meristematic tissues are: first, the apical meristem. Apical meristem is found at the tips of the stems, the roots, and here they bring about lengthwise growth. Coming to the intercalary meristem, they bring about regrowth and elongation. So, they are found in areas where the plant has regrowth and elongation. Then we come to the lateral meristem, constitutes to the growth of the girth or the thickness of the plant. The apical meristem brings about primary growth. Tips of roots and shoots have the apical meristem. It increases the length of the plant as well as the roots. They also produce new leaves, flowers, and bring about elongation of the stems. The intercalary meristem. They are responsible for regrowth and elongation. They are present at the base of leaves or internodes, especially in the grass. Have you seen, students, how the grass they become long very quickly? That is because of the intercalary meristem. Aids in the regrowth of the parts and the internode elongations. The special feature is that they retains the ability to divide even after the surrounding tissue has matured. So they constitute to the growth of the internodes. Coming to the lateral meristem brings about secondary growth. They are located at the sides of the stems and the roots. They increase the thickness or the girth which is also called as secondary growth. So have you seen, students, that the stems become wider and wider? That is because of the lateral meristem. They are present in vascular cambium that produces the wood and the cork cambium that produces the bark. So in the mature plants, you must have seen the woody bark that forms outside. That is because of the lateral meristem. Coming on to the permanent tissues. The permanent tissues are plant tissues whose cells have lost the ability to divide. They are derived from the meristematic tissues and are specialized for specific functions. So these tissues, students, they cannot divide and they are only specialized for the different functions. There are two types of permanent tissues. Number one, simple permanent tissues. These tissues are made up of only one type of cells. And the second one is complex permanent tissues, which are made up of more than one type of cells, but these work together to perform a common function. Coming to the simple permanent tissues, there are different kinds of simple permanent tissues. The first one is parenchyma. The parenchyma is located in the soft parts of the plants, like the cortex, pith, the leaf mesophyll, fruit pulp, etc. The cells are loosely packed. You can see in the figure that they have intercellular spaces. These parenchyma cells, they are mainly responsible for storage of food and water. But in some of the parenchyma, there might be the presence of chlorophyll and they can also take part in photosynthesis. Such parenchyma are called chlorenchyma. And in the aquatic plants, you must have seen water hyacinth floating on the water. They have air in them. The parenchyma have air in them which gives buoyancy, and these parenchyma are called erenchyma. The next type is collenchyma. The collenchyma are present below the epidermis in the stems and the leaf stalks. They have very little intercellular space. You can see, children, in the diagram again. So there are very little intercellular spaces, and this collenchyma, they provide flexibility and mechanical support. They also allow growth in the young parts of the plant. Coming to the third type, that is the sclerenchyma. The sclerenchyma, they are the hard outer shells of the seeds, coconut husk. Have you seen when you peel a coconut, the husk that comes out? Those are the sclerenchyma tissue. They are also called the sclerids. They are present in nutshells, pear fruit stems, veins of leaves, and they do not have any intercellular spaces. Their main function is because they are so rigid, they provide support and strength. The cells are dead and thick and they have lignin deposition, hence we also call them as lignified walls. So their main function is to provide support. Next we come to the complex permanent tissue. The first kind of complex permanent tissue is the xylem. Xylem is located throughout the roots, stems and leaves. The components of xylem are tracheids, vessels, xylem parenchyma and xylem fibers. But except for xylem parenchyma, all other cells are dead. The xylem provides a route for conduction of water and minerals, and from the roots they take them to all parts of the plant. They also provide support to the plant. Next, we come to the phloem. They are also present throughout the plant and they are specially located very near to the xylem. The components of the phloem are the sieve tubes, companion cells, phloem parenchyma and phloem fibers. The sieve tubes have no nucleus. While maturing, the sieve tubes lose their nucleus, ribosome and vacuoles so that they can form long tubular pipes through which food can be conducted easily to all parts of the plant. But along with the sieve tubes, we have companion cells which have the nucleus. And these companion cells, they become the support, protect and functionally sustain the sieve tubes as they do not have the nucleus. Except for the phloem fibers, all other cells of the phloem are living. The main function of the phloem is to transport the prepared food from the leaves to all other parts of the plant. If we look at the differences between xylem and phloem, the first one is that xylem transports water and minerals, but phloem, it transports food. Mostly, xylem cells are dead except for the xylem parenchyma, but in phloem, mostly they are living cells except for the phloem fibers. In xylem, the cells are thick and lignified, whereas in phloem, the cells are thin. In xylem, the mature xylem cells do not have a nucleus. In phloem, the sieve tubes do not have a nucleus, but the companion cells have a nucleus. The xylem, both upward and downward movements are seen in the phloem, but in the xylem, only upward movement of the water from the roots to the leaves can be seen. The animal tissue has various classifications: epithelial tissue, connective tissue, muscular tissue, and nervous tissue. The epithelial tissue is again divided into squamous epithelium, cuboidal epithelium, columnar epithelium, ciliated epithelium, and glandular epithelium. The connective tissue has various kinds: areolar, adipose, skeletal, and fluid. In the fluid connective tissue, we have blood and lymph. In the skeletal tissue, we have tendons, ligaments, bone, and cartilage. The epithelial tissue is mainly found in the cover of different organs and the inner lining of the internal organs. They act as a barrier and they protect the body surfaces. The various kinds of epithelial tissue are: number 1, the squamous epithelium. From the name itself, squamous epithelium has cells which are square in structure. They are located in the lining of lungs and blood vessels. Their function is that their single layer helps in diffusion and filtration. As you know, lungs are responsible for exchange of air. Hence, from the lungs, the oxygen diffuses into the blood and the carbon dioxide from the blood diffuses into the lungs while exhalation. The second type is the cuboidal epithelium. From the name again, you can understand that the cells are cuboidal in shape. This epithelium is present in the kidney tubules and in the glands. The glands, of course, are responsible for secretion. Hence, the cuboidal epithelium has the function of secretion and absorption. The columnar epithelium has cells which are like columns. These columnar epithelial cells are found in the lining of stomach and the intestines. They have the function of absorption and secretion. Dear students, you know that when the food reaches the stomach, it is acted upon by various enzymes. Hence, the columnar epithelium helps in the secretion of these enzymes. And in the intestine, the digested food needs to be absorbed. Hence, the columnar epithelial cells present in the intestine are responsible for absorption of the digested food. The next type is the ciliated epithelium. These epithelial cells have fine hair-like projections called the cilia. The cilia continuously keeps moving in a brush-like manner, or they can also be called to be functioning like a broom. They are present in the respiratory tract and in the fallopian tubes. This hair-like cilia that is present in these epithelial cells, they help in the movement of particles and mucus. In the fallopian tube, the ovum that is present cannot move on its own. So, the cilia of the fallopian tube helps to move the ovum from the fallopian tube towards the uterus. Glandular epithelium. They are present in the glands like salivary and the sweat glands. Their main function is secretion of enzymes and hormones. Here you can see the structure of the epithelial tissue. The first one are the cuboidal tissue. So, can you see, dear students, that the cells are cuboidal in shape. Simple squamous just looks like a plate. It is very simple and the structure are also square-shaped cells. The columnar epithelium, as you can see, looks like pillars. Column means pillar. So, you can see that they are pillar-like structures. The stratified squamous, or that means in some of the glands, in some of the layers, there are layers of squamous, which is called stratified squamous epithelium. The second type of animal tissue is the connective tissue. As the name implicates, the connective tissue connects, binds, protects, transports, and many other functions. There are various kinds of connective tissue. The first kind is the areolar tissue. The areolar tissue is found beneath the skin and around the organs. The areolar tissue fills up the spaces, provides supports, and they also help in repairing of the tissues. The second type is the adipose tissue. The adipose tissue is found just under the skin and around the kidneys. The adipose tissue is responsible for fat storage. So, dear students, the fat that accumulates in our body is actually stored in the adipose tissue. And because the fat does not help in the conduction of heat, it also provides insulation to the body. And it also provides cushioning. That means when somebody hits you or you get hurt, the adipose tissue cushions that impact. The next part is the tendons. Tendons connect muscles to bones. They are strong and they provide non-elastic support. The ligaments connect bones to bones. They are flexible and they support the joints. The next is the cartilage. Cartilages are present in the nose, in the ears, and at the joints. This cartilage is flexible. You can see, you can twist your nose, you can twitch your ears. So, the cartilage provides flexible support, smoothens the bone surfaces at the joints. The next one with the solid matrix are the bones. The bones provide the entire skeleton of the body. They provide structural support and they anchor the muscles. They bring about movement and also provide protection to the inner organs. The inner organs like the heart, lungs, or our digestive system, they are very soft and delicate. They need to be protected by something, and hence the skeleton forms a cage-like structure protecting these delicate inner organs. The last kind of connective tissue is also called the fluid connective tissue, that is the blood and the lymph. The blood has three types of cells, the RBC, the WBC, and the platelets. The blood circulates throughout the body. It is responsible for transporting gases, nutrients, wastes. The WBC present in the blood protects against diseases, and the platelets present in the blood are responsible for clotting of blood at sites of injury. So you must have seen, students, that whenever you have a cut or an injury, the blood oozes out for some time, but after some time, a brown color thing forms at the site which stops further flow of blood. This is called the clotting, and this is brought about by the platelets present in the blood. Here you can see the pictures of different kinds of connective tissue. You can see the cartilages, you can see the bone, the adipose tissue, the tendons and the ligaments, and the three types of blood cells present. Next we come to the muscular tissue. The main function of the muscular tissue is to bring about movement of body parts. The muscular tissue is of three types. We have skeletal muscles, we have smooth muscles, and we have cardiac muscles. Coming to the first, that is the skeletal muscles. They are located all over the body and they are attached to the bones. Their function is voluntary. That means we are able to control the function of the skeletal muscles. You can see I can move my hand or I can keep my hand stable. Hence, the skeletal muscles move under our jurisdiction. The striations, the skeletal muscles have got lines on them which are called the striations. The skeletal muscles have multiple nuclei in them. The speed of contraction of the skeletal muscle is very fast. You can see how fast I can move my hands. Therefore, because they are very fast, they have a tendency to fatigue. So, they become tired very fast. You can realize that you cannot keep running for hour after hour because your skeletal muscles have the tendency to fatigue. And as we have already said, their movement is under our control or voluntary. Coming to the smooth muscles are found in the walls of internal organs. Their movement is involuntary. That means you cannot control the movement of your stomach or the intestine or any other internal organ for that matter, but they are moving. There are no striations present. The smooth muscles, they are spindle shaped and there are no striations or no lines present on them. They have one single nuclei and the speed of their contraction is very slow. Therefore, they have sustained contractions. That means your stomach can keep its movement over and over a long period of time. And as we have already said, we cannot control their movements, hence they are involuntary in their function. The cardiac muscle is very specific. It is present only in the wall of the heart. Its movement is completely involuntary. We cannot control the movement of the heart muscles and their main function is pumping of the blood. So here in the diagram, you can see the three kinds of muscles. The first one that we have read about are the skeletal muscles. I'm sure you can see that there are multiple nuclei present and you can also see that there are lines on them which are called the striations. The second one, that is the smooth muscle, is spindle shaped and they have only one nuclei and you can also see that they do not have any marks or lines. That means no striations. The cardiac muscles, they have the nuclei, they have striations and they have branches as well, but they are present only and only in the heart. The last kind of animal tissue is the nervous tissue. The nervous tissue is present throughout the body and they stem from the brain and the spinal cord. The number of nerves that a baby is born with remains till his death because nerve tissues, they do not multiply. As you can see in the diagram, the nerve tissue is made up of neurons. Every neuron has the following parts. You can see a star-shaped body which is called the cyton or the cell body. And arising from the cyton, there are different branches or root-like structures which are called the dendrons or the dendrites. There is one long elongation coming out from the cyton which is called the axon. The axon ends again in branches which are called the axonal terminals. The main function of the neuron is nerve impulse transmission. This transmission occurs when we receive a stimuli. The stimuli is received by the cyton and it is first received by the dendrons and it is passed on to the cyton. From the cyton, the impulse passes to the axon and finally to the terminal endings of the axon. Over here, the impulse jumps to the next neuron and so forth the impulse is carried forward. The location of this nervous tissue, as I've already told you, it's in the brain, spinal cord and all the nerves. And the main cells are the neurons and the neuroglia. The neuroglia are the supporting cells to the neurons. And their function is coordination, control and response to stimuli. So students, everything that you perceive around you, that means from the environment we get cues, the heat, the cold and the internal cues of hunger, thirst, sleep, everything, all the cues to which you respond, all the stimuli to which you respond is controlled and coordinated by the nervous tissue. So with that, we come to the end of the tissues both in plants and animals. Hope to see you again in the next episode of Science.